Part 1. The Breaking Point. The transmission crackled to life across every communication channel in human space. What should have been a routine diplomatic update became humanity's darkest hour in just 37 seconds. Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood in chains on the crystalline platform of the Stellar Consortium's High Court, her Earth diplomatic uniform torn and bloodied. Behind her, the towering forms of the Consortium's ruling council cast long shadows across the chamber, their alien features twisted with contempt as they prepared to deliver their verdict to the watching galaxy. Citizens of the Stellar Consortium, Chancellor Zix-9's voice boomed through the chamber, his insectoid mandibles clicking with satisfaction. Today we cleanse our sacred space of human contamination. This creature has violated our most fundamental laws by spreading the poison of human culture among our pure civilizations. Elena raised her head, her dark eyes blazing with defiance despite the neural inhibitors wrapped around her skull. Even facing death, she would not give them the satisfaction of seeing her break. She had spent 3 years working tirelessly to build bridges between Earth and the Consortium, only to watch them burn those bridges with her own execution. "Any last words, human?" Zix-9 hissed, his compound eyes gleaming. Elena's voice carried across the chamber, steady and strong. "My name is Elena Vasquez. I came in peace, seeking understanding between our peoples. If you kill me for teaching your children to laugh, for showing your artists new forms of beauty, for demonstrating that different doesn't mean wrong, then you prove that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. It's our heart." The energy lance pierced her chest before she could say another word. The transmission ended. On Earth, President Chen Wei sat in stunned silence, in the Oval Office as the feed cut to black. Around him, his advisors and generals waited for his response. The room was so quiet that the hum of the air conditioning seemed deafening. "Madam President," General Marcus Torres finally spoke, his weathered face grim. "The Consortium has made their position clear. They see us as vermin to be exterminated." Chen Wei slowly rose from her chair, her hands trembling with barely contained rage. She had been elected on a platform of peaceful expansion, of showing the galaxy that humanity could be trusted partners in the cosmic community. Now that dream lay shattered, burned away by the sight of Elena's execution. "Get me Admiral Knox," she said quietly. "Authorization code Omega-7. The color drained from Torres's face. Omega-7 was the activation code for humanity's most classified military program. The Shadow Fleet. Ships that officially didn't exist. Crewed by soldiers, who had died on paper years ago. Armed with weapons that violated every treaty Earth had ever signed." "Ma'am, are you certain?" Torres asked. "Once we activate the Shadow Fleet, there's no going back. The galaxy will know we've been preparing for war while talking peace." Chen Wei turned to face the window, looking out at the sprawling cityscape of New Geneva. Somewhere out there, Elena's family was watching the news, learning that their daughter had died for the crime of being human. Somewhere else, children were asking their parents why the aliens had killed the nice lady who had sent them drawings from distant worlds. "Elena died because she showed them we could be better than they feared," Chen Wei said softly. "Now we're going to show them why they should have been afraid." 3 hours later, Admiral Sarah Knox stood on the bridge of the EDS Retribution, humanity's first true warship. Built in the shadow of Jupiter's moons and powered by experimental fusion drives, it was a testament to what humans could accomplish when they stopped trying to play by other species' rules. Knox was a veteran of the Mars colonial wars, a woman who had learned to fight in the asteroid belts where mercy was a luxury no one could afford. Her steel-gray hair was pulled back in a tight bun, and her pale blue eyes held the kind of cold fury that had made her enemies whisper her name in the dark. "Status report," she commanded as her crew rushed to their stations. "Shadow Fleet is fully deployed," reported Commander Lisa Park, her tactical officer. 67 ships across 14 systems. All vessels are running dark and ready for simultaneous strikes." Knox nodded grimly. The Shadow Fleet had been her project for the past decade, a response to humanity's growing awareness that they were not welcome in the galaxy's established order. While Earth's diplomats had talked peace, Knox had prepared for war. And our targets? 3 consortium military outposts, Park replied, highlighting them on the tactical display. Kepler Station, the Vega shipyards, and the Procyon defense platform. Each one contributed ships to the fleet that captured Ambassador Vasquez. Knox studied the tactical display, her mind already calculating attack vectors and casualty estimates. Each target was heavily defended, protected by energy shields and automated defense systems that had never been tested against human ingenuity. Begin. Operation Nightfall, she ordered. All ships execute Plan Omega on my mark. Across the galaxy, human ships emerged from the darkness like hunting wolves. They were smaller than the massive consortium dreadnoughts, but they moved with purpose and coordination that the aliens had never seen before. While the consortium relied on individual ship commanders making decisions, the humans fought as a unified organism, their movements guided by Atlas, Earth's most advanced artificial intelligence. At Kepler Station, 12 human destroyers materialized from hyperspace in perfect formation. The station's massive guns swiveled to track them, but the human ships were already moving, their courses seemingly random but actually following complex mathematical patterns that made them nearly impossible to target. The consortium commander, a towering reptilian called Thele, watched in confusion as the human ships danced around his weapons. "What are they doing?" he demanded. "Why don't they attack?" His question was answered moments later when the human ships suddenly converged. Their combined firepower focused on a single point in the station's outer ring. The concentrated barrage tore through the station's armor like paper, sending explosive decompression through 3 decks. But the humans weren't finished. As the station's defenders rushed to contain the damage, the human ships scattered again, this time targeting the station's communication arrays. Within minutes, Kepler Station was blind and deaf, cut off from the rest of the consortium fleet. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. At the Vega shipyards, human ships used their superior speed to dart between the massive construction platforms, their weapons targeting critical support structures. The aliens watched in horror as their largest shipyard collapsed in on itself. Years of work destroyed in minutes. The Procyon defense platform, considered impregnable by consortium strategists, fell to a tactic that would have been impossible for any other species. The human ships didn't attack the platform directly. Instead, they targeted the asteroid field that surrounded it, using precisely calculated explosions to send massive rocks hurtling toward the platform at devastating speeds. As the last of the 3 targets fell silent, Admiral Knox activated the galaxy-wide communication network. Her image appeared on screens across hundreds of worlds, her face calm but her eyes burning with determination. "People of the galaxy," she began, her voice carrying to every corner of civilized space. "Today you witnessed the execution of Ambassador Elena Vasquez, a woman whose only crime was believing that different species could live together in peace. The Stellar Consortium has shown us that they prefer the language of violence to the language of diplomacy." She paused, letting her words sink in across the galaxy. "So be it. You have shown us that you see humanity as a virus to be cleansed from the galaxy, but you have made a fundamental error in your calculations. You see, we are not a virus. We are the cure for the disease of tyranny that has infected this galaxy for too long." The transmission cut to footage of the 3 destroyed outposts, their wreckage floating in space like monuments to human fury. "We did not seek this war," Knox continued, "but we will finish it. Every world that supported Elena's execution, every ship that participated in her capture, every leader who voted for her death, you are all now marked for destruction. We will not rest until every last trace of the consortium's power is burned from the galaxy." The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. In the consortium's capital city, Chancellor Zix-9 stared at the blank screen in disbelief. He had expected the humans to protest, perhaps even to withdraw from galactic affairs. He had not expected this. "How many ships do they have?" he demanded, of his military advisors. "Unknown, Chancellor," replied General Vex, his voice trembling. "Our intelligence suggested they had perhaps 50 vessels capable of interstellar travel. But the attacks were too coordinated, too precise. They must have been building a secret fleet for years. 6-9's mandibles clicked in frustration. The humans had played them for fools, talking peace while preparing for war. But how could such a primitive species have developed such advanced military technology without anyone noticing? Mobilize the Grand Fleet, he ordered. Every ship, every world, every ally we have. The humans want a war, we'll give them extinction. But even as he spoke, 6-9 felt a chill of fear. The footage of the destroyed outposts showed a level of tactical sophistication that he had not expected from humanity. The attacks had been surgical, precise, designed to cause maximum damage, with minimal risk to the attackers. Perhaps, he thought with growing dread, they had underestimated humanity's capacity for war. On Earth, President Chen Wei stood before the assembled Congress, her face grave but resolute. Behind her, the flags of every nation on Earth hung in unity, a symbol of humanity's newfound purpose. Representatives of Earth, she began, today we learned that the galaxy sees us not as partners, but as prey. They have shown us that they believe might makes right, that those who are different deserve only death. She paused, her voice growing stronger. They are wrong. Humanity has faced extinction before and survived. We have conquered our own world, reached for the stars and built something beautiful from the ashes of our own wars. We will not be driven back into the darkness by those who fear our light. The chamber erupted in applause, but Chen Wei raised her hand for silence. I have authorized the activation of Operation Nightfall, our response to the consortium's declaration of war. We will not be the aggressors in this conflict, but we will be its victors. We fight not for conquest, but for the right to exist. We fight not for glory, but for the children who will inherit the galaxy we leave behind. As the session ended, Chen Wei returned to her office to find Admiral Knox waiting for her. The two women stood in silence for a moment, the weight of their decisions heavy between them. Any regrets? Knox asked quietly. Chen Wei shook her head. Elena died believing in the best of humanity. Now we have to show the galaxy that the best of humanity includes being very, very dangerous when threatened. Knox nodded grimly. The Shadow Fleet is ready for Phase 2. But once we escalate, there's no going back. This becomes a war of extinction. Then, let's make sure, Chen Wei said, her voice hard as steel, that we're the ones who survive. Across the galaxy, the first phase of humanity's war against the Stellar Consortium was complete. 3 outposts lay in ruins, their crews either dead or captured. The message had been sent, loud and clear. Earth would not go quietly into the night. But this was only the beginning. The real war was yet to come. Total war unleashed. The consortium's response came within 72 hours. Chancellor 6-9 had assembled the largest fleet in galactic history, over 3,000 warships representing dozens of species united in their hatred of humanity. The massive armada moved through hyperspace like a tide of death, their destination clear: Earth itself. Admiral Sarah Knox watched the enemy fleet approach on her tactical display, her expression calm despite the overwhelming odds. The consortium outnumbered humanity's forces 10-1, their ships bristling with weapons that could crack planets. By every conventional measure, Earth should have been preparing for surrender. But Sarah Knox had not spent a decade building the Shadow Fleet to fight conventional wars. Atlas, initiate swarm protocol, she commanded. The artificial intelligence's response came immediately, its synthesized voice carrying an almost human note of anticipation. Swarm protocol activated, deploying hunter-killer units across 17 vectors. Enemy tracking systems will be overwhelmed in approximately 4 minutes. What emerged from Earth's orbital shipyards would have seemed impossible to any alien observer. Not dozens of ships, not hundreds, but thousands upon thousands of small craft, each no larger than a fighter but packed with the most advanced technology humanity could produce. They moved like a living thing, flowing around the massive consortium dreadnoughts in patterns that seemed random, but followed complex algorithms designed by Atlas. Aboard the consortium flagship Eternal Dominion, Commander Thale stared at his screens in growing confusion. The human craft were too small to register as serious threats, too numerous to track individually, and too fast to target effectively. What are they doing? He demanded of his tactical officer. Unknown, sir. They appear to be swarming, like insects. Thale's reptilian features twisted in disgust. It was fitting that the humans would fight like vermin. Deploy the auto-targeting systems, we'll swat them down like the pests they are. But as the consortium's weapons began firing, the human swarm simply flowed around the energy beams like water around stones. For every small craft destroyed, 2 more seemed to take its place, and slowly, methodically, they began to attach themselves to the hulls of the larger consortium ships. Sir? The tactical officer's voice was tight with growing panic. They're not attacking, they're boarding us. The revelation hit Thale like a physical blow. The small craft weren't ships at all. They were delivery systems, each one carrying a squad of human soldiers directly onto his vessels. While his crews had been focused on the spectacle of the swarm, the humans had been conducting the largest boarding operation in galactic history. On Earth, President Chen Wei watched the battle unfold from the war room deep beneath the presidential palace. Around her, holographic displays showed the progress of Operation Prometheus, named for the Titan who stole fire from the gods. It seemed appropriate for humanity's attempt to steal victory from impossible odds. Report, she commanded. General, Torres stepped forward, his weathered face grim but determined. Phase 1 is proceeding according to plan. We've successfully boarded 67% of their capital ships. Resistance is heavier than expected, but our forces are adapting. Chen. Wei nodded. The boarding operation had been humanity's answer to the consortium's technological superiority. Unable to match the aliens' firepower ship to ship, Earth strategists had decided to take the fight inside their vessels, where human adaptability and close-quarters combat skills could level the playing field. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, chaos reigned in the corridors as human soldiers fought their way through the ship's interior. Sergeant Maria Santos led her squad through the alien vessel's twisting passages, her powered armor sensors cutting through the strange atmosphere that the reptilian crew breathed. Contact front, her point man called out as a group of consortium soldiers rounded the corner ahead. The aliens were tall and imposing, their natural armor thick enough to stop most conventional weapons. But the humans weren't using conventional weapons. Santos raised her rifle and fired a burst of crystalline ammunition, each bullet designed to shatter on impact and release a cloud of metallic dust. The dust interfaced with the ship's own atmospheric systems, causing the air itself to become conductive. When Santos triggered her weapon's secondary function, electricity arced through the corridor, dropping the alien soldiers in convulsions. Bridge is 2 levels up, Santos called to her squad. Let's go introduce ourselves to the captain. Similar scenes played out across dozens of consortium vessels as human forces adapted to each new challenge with the kind of flexible thinking that had allowed their species to survive on a hostile homeworld. Against the crystalline beings of the Vex Collective, they used sonic weapons that shattered their bodies like glass. Against the energy-based Luminar, they deployed electromagnetic pulse grenades that disrupted their cohesion. But the real shock came when the humans reached the command centers of the consortium ships. Instead of trying to capture or destroy them, they began downloading everything. Every tactical manual, every star chart, every communication protocol that the consortium had developed over millennia of galactic dominance. Within hours, Atlas had processed the stolen data and begun implementing countermeasures to every consortium weapon system. What had taken the aliens centuries to perfect, humanity absorbed and improved upon in a matter of hours. Chancellor Zix-9 watched his mighty fleet being torn apart from within and felt something he had never experienced before: true fear. The humans were not just defeating his forces, they were learning from them, evolving with each encounter. Recall, all ships, he commanded. Full retreat to the core worlds. But Admiral Knox was not about to let the consortium fleet escape. From her position aboard the Retribution, she gave the order that would change the course of the war. Deploy the Ragnarok. Weapons. Deep in the holds of humanity's heavy cruisers, weapon systems that violated every law of war came online. They had been built in secret, designed by Earth's most brilliant and most ruthless scientists. The Ragnarok devices were not meant to destroy enemy ships. They were meant to make the consortium wish they had never been born. The first device, activated near the center of the consortium formation, releasing a pulse of exotic energy that interfaced directly with the alien vessel's power cores. But instead of causing explosions, the pulse caused something far worse. It turned the ship's own power against their crews. Aboard the Eternal Dominion, Commander Thale watched in horror as his ship's lights began to strobe in patterns that hurt to look at. The strobing wasn't random. It was designed to trigger neurological responses in different alien species, causing disorientation, nausea, and in some cases, complete neural shutdown. "What's happening?" he demanded, but his crew was too busy retching or convulsing to answer. The second wave of Ragnarok devices targeted the consortium's communication systems, but instead of jamming them, they hijacked them. Suddenly, every screen aboard every consortium ship was displaying the same image. Elena Vasquez's execution, played on loop, accompanied by a soundtrack of human voices singing funeral dirges in 100 different languages. The psychological impact was devastating. The alien crews, already demoralized by the boarding actions and the strobing lights, found themselves forced to watch the atrocity that had started the war over and over again. Some began to break down entirely, unable to reconcile their image of themselves as civilized beings with the brutal execution they were forced to witness. But Admiral Knox was not finished. As the consortium fleet began to scatter in panic, she gave her final order. All ships execute the Manhattan Gambit. The Manhattan Gambit was named for the ancient human city that had been rebuilt after nuclear destruction, a testament to humanity's refusal to stay down when knocked to the ground. It was a tactic that could only work because of humanity's unique relationship with artificial intelligence. Instead of viewing AI as servants or tools, humans had developed Atlas as a partner, an equal participant in the species' survival. This partnership allowed for a level of coordination that no other species could match. As the scattered consortium ships attempted to retreat, they found their escape routes blocked by human vessels that seemed to appear out of nowhere. But these weren't reinforcements from Earth. These were the same ships they had been fighting, moving with impossible speed and coordination, because Atlas was controlling multiple vessels simultaneously, while their human crews focused on specific tasks. The effect was like fighting an opponent with 1,000 arms, each moving in perfect coordination with the others. Everywhere the consortium fleet turned, human ships were waiting, their attacks precisely timed to exploit every weakness that Atlas had identified. Within 6 hours, the largest fleet in galactic history had been reduced to scattered wreckage and fleeing survivors. The few consortium ships that managed to escape carried with them tales of human tactics that defied everything the galaxy thought they knew about warfare. But Admiral Knox knew that destroying the fleet was only the beginning. The real test would come when humanity took the fight to the consortium's core worlds, where billions of aliens lived under the protection of planetary defense systems that had never been breached. "Atlas, begin Phase 3 preparations," she commanded. "Phase 3 preparations initiated," the AI responded. "Target: Consortium Central Command, planet designation Zix Prime. Estimated population: 47 billion. Planetary defenses: theoretically impregnable." Knox smiled grimly. "Theoretically." On Zix Prime, Chancellor Zix-9 stood before the consortium. High Council, his mandibles clicking with barely controlled panic. Around him, representatives of dozens of species demanded explanations for the disaster that had befallen their supposedly invincible fleet. "How?" demanded Councillor Vex, her crystalline form refracting the chamber's light into angry rainbows. "How did such a primitive species destroy our greatest armada?" Zix-9 had been asking himself the same question. The reports from the surviving ships painted a picture of human capabilities that seemed impossible. They fought like no other species the consortium had ever encountered, adapting and evolving their tactics in real time, turning the consortium's own advantages against them. "They are not what we believed them to be," he admitted. "Our intelligence was flawed. The humans have been preparing for this war for years, perhaps decades, Their technology is more advanced than we realized, their tactical thinking more sophisticated. Then we negotiate, suggested Counselor Thrym, his gaseous form shimmering with anxiety. We offer them terms, perhaps even full membership in the consortium. The chamber erupted in angry buzzing, clicking, and other sounds of alien outrage. The idea of treating the humans as equals was anathema to everything the consortium represented. No, Zix-9 said firmly. We have gone too far to retreat. No, the execution of their ambassador was broadcast across the galaxy. If we negotiate now, we appear weak. Other primitive species will think they can challenge us as well. He turned to address the full council. We activate the Omega Protocol. All planetary defense systems, all reserve fleets, all secret weapons. The humans want a war? We will give them extinction. But even as he spoke, Zix-9 felt the weight of doubt pressing down on him. The humans had already proven that they could adapt to any challenge, overcome any obstacle. What if the consortium's ultimate weapons were not enough? His question was answered sooner than he expected. 3 days later, human forces appeared at the edge of the Zix Prime system, and with them came a demonstration of exactly how far humanity was willing to go to protect their own. The human fleet was smaller than the armada that had attacked Earth, but it moved with the confidence of predators who had already tasted victory. At its head flew Admiral Knox's flagship, the Retribution, its hull scarred from the previous battle but its weapons fully charged. This is Admiral Sarah Knox of the Earth Defense Force. Her voice echoed across all communication frequencies in the system. 3 days ago, you sent a fleet to destroy our homeworld. That fleet no longer exists. Today, we offer you the same choice you offered our ambassador: surrender or die. The response from Zix Prime was immediate. Every orbital defense platform opened fire simultaneously, filling space with enough energy to vaporize a small moon. The human fleet should have been obliterated instantly. Instead, they simply weren't there anymore. The humans had developed a new form of faster-than-light travel, one that allowed for tactical jumps over short distances. As the consortium's weapons fired at empty space, human ships materialized inside the defensive perimeter, their own weapons already trained on the planet's surface. But they did not fire on the cities below. Instead, they targeted something far more precious to the consortium leadership: their escape routes. One by one, the orbital elevators that connected Zix Prime to its moon bases exploded in brilliant flashes of light. The spaceports that would have allowed evacuation were reduced to twisted metal. The communication satellites that linked the planet to the rest of the consortium fell silent. In less than an hour, Zix Prime had been cut off from the galaxy, its population trapped on the surface, while human ships controlled the space around them. Now, Admiral Knox's voice came again, calm and implacable. We talk. The negotiation was brief and decisive. Chancellor Zix-9, faced with the choice between surrender and the complete destruction of his civilization, chose survival. The consortium would disband immediately, its member species free to govern themselves without the threat of central authority. Elena Vasquez would be posthumously recognized as Earth's first ambassador to a free galaxy, her death marking not the end of human diplomacy, but the beginning of a new era of cooperation based on mutual respect rather than fear. But perhaps most importantly, humanity would take responsibility for maintaining peace in the galaxy, their fleets patrolling the trade routes and protecting the weak from those who would exploit them. As Admiral Knox stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the surrender ceremonies on Zix Prime, she felt Elena's presence beside her. The Diplomat had died believing in the best of humanity, and in the end that belief had been vindicated. Humanity had not sought this war, but they had fought it with everything they possessed. They had shown the galaxy that Earth was not a world, to be dismissed or threatened. They were the species that turned impossible odds into inevitable victory, that found strength in diversity and unity in purpose. The age of the consortium was over. The age of humanity had begun. And across the galaxy, on 1,000 different worlds, children of 100 different species looked up at the stars and dreamed of the day when they too might stand among the humans. those remarkable beings who had taught the universe that sometimes the small and seemingly insignificant could reshape everything. Elena Vasquez had died for the crime of showing the galaxy humanity's heart, but in her death, she had given birth to something far greater, a future where that heart would beat at the center of galactic civilization, pumping life and hope to every corner of the cosmos. The humans had kept their promise. They had erased their enemies from existence. But they had done something even more remarkable. They had replaced hatred with hope, tyranny with freedom, and fear with the endless possibility of what tomorrow might bring. This was humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not conquest but liberation, not domination, but the chance for every species to reach their full potential under the protection of those who understood that true strength came not from the barrel of a gun, but from the courage to stand up for what was right, no matter the course. The war was over. The real work of building a better galaxy was just beginning.